Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to Van Build 2.5, I think, something like that. So, I just got back from Home Depot and I got this laminate floor. I decided to go with laminate. It was super cheap. It was like 20 bucks a box. Only needed 2 boxes, so 40 bucks, and I'm just gonna stick Luan under that. But before I do that, I gotta stick Luan on the ceiling. So I got 2 more pieces of Luan. That should be plenty, and I still have another piece from before to do that. So today, definitely putting Luan on the ceiling all the way. The tapestry's not here yet, and I don't know what's taking it so long, but we'll find out. So anyway, yeah, Luan's going on the ceiling, and then I'm gonna cut it out for the floors as well. Don't know if I'll have time to install this today. It kind of deserves its own video. Plus, I'm gonna have to watch some videos on it because I don't know how to install it. But it looks nice, and it was cheap, and yeah. Woo! So I also went to Lowe's because Home Depot didn't have the screws I want, and I found the Luan there, which both sides are pretty, and the one side's very red looking. It's really, really beautiful looking. This is what the Home Depot stuff looks like. It's just kind of yellowish, kind of a maple color. This is much more of a cedar, and it's $5 cheaper at Lowe's, so that's awesome. While you guys were gone, I decided to pull both these panels off and put another coat of paint on them and cut this one to fit perfectly, because if you remember right, it was kind of sitting up at an angle and it just wasn't perfect, and it was driving me nuts. So I took it off, repainted it, put it back on, and while I was at it, I took the anti-mold paint and went over all of the factory caulking, because when I pulled this thing apart, when I had the mold problem, it was growing on the caulking. It wasn't growing on the bare metal or anything else. It was only growing on the caulking. All right, so my plan is for a single piece of Luan to tuck under here and go back a little ways, and it's gonna touch this and come all the way back and fit perfectly into this shape, and this is gonna be tucked up under. So this is a curved shape, so I need to figure out how to make a perfect template for that, so I can cut out the back and then measure from this point to down there and go in a few inches. And then I went ahead and took a Sharpie and marked where all these beams are with Sharpie here, so that I know exactly where to drill in. This is gonna be really difficult to explain, but see how this piece is curved? This is the trim that went up in here, and this end, when it sits flat like this, is almost up until this point and minus this part that's cut out, is the perfectly shaped curve for this curve. I was trying to figure out how to make a template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this down on a piece of cardboard, and I'm going to trace it until these points where it curves in too fast. And check this out. This is a little trick I just figured out for templating. I'm going to mark where it goes, where there's nothing, and then I'm going to trace to that point where I defined where it starts to get too sharp of a curve. All right, so there's that. We've got that point. I'm going to scoot this up so it's nice and flat. Now I'm going to use this point where it's the same curve. I'm going to see how it lines up to the other two. And it's just right. Okay, so I know that this curve right from here to here is the curve that I want, because I know it fits in the curve up there absolutely perfectly. So from here to here, I know that my curve is good. So now I'm going to line this part up, and I'm not positive this is going to work. All right, let's see how this bad boy fits. Seems like quite the clever idea. Oh. Oh, look at that. It is just a little far. It's a tiny, tiny bit too far on the sides, but that's pretty much perfect. That's about as good as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, this will work. All right, last step is I'm gonna stick my hand in here and make sure there's nothing in the way. See how far I can go in. Okay, I wanna go in about that far. I'll go straight from the center, because that's the part that sticks out. 81. Can I go to 80? Yes, I'll go 80 inches. 80 inches from the center. Okay, so I went ahead and double checked my measurement from the center, and I made sure that 80 inches that I measured both times was enough when it's all the way to the side to make sure it was plenty of length and not too much. So I'm pretty confident in my my measurements in my template now. So I'm gonna set this up so I only have to make one cut. Now I could just match this up to the end and cut that out and then cut the remainder off to make 80 inches. But I think what I'm gonna do here, if I can bring my mic cable around, man, my life would be so much easier with a Video Mic Pro. That is definitely gonna be in the works soon. So I'm gonna measure this out, and I've got my 80 inches right here, and I'm gonna go over just a little bit just to be perfectly in the center. And now I'm gonna line up my template to 80 inches right here. And I'm gonna line this thing up, and then I'm gonna take my tape measure. I'm gonna measure the sides to make sure that this thing is straight and not going either way. So all the way from the ends on this side, I have 16 and second line after a quarter, whatever that is. This side I have 17, so it's off. This is not perfectly straight. So I need to turn it this way a little bit. Check, make sure I'm still on 80. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do this time? I'm gonna get kind of smart, and I'm just gonna mark where 80 is so that I can just line this guy up. Bam. Beautiful. Now let's see. I wonder if I line up the side here, if that'll give me the same on each. And 16 3/4. Okay, beautiful. Now what I'm gonna do, set this here. I'm gonna get something else heavy to put on here just so I don't shift this cardboard at all, and then trace it and cut with the jigsaw. Real quick tip for you guys, don't do what I just did and leave the part that's being cut completely unsupported. See this piece, how it was able to fall like that and then eventually break off, and that looks like garbage. If this were a piece of wood that was gonna be visible or where structural integrity mattered, then this would be a big problem. But luckily this is just gonna be covered over with the tapestry. It's basically just a surface to glue that onto and a little bit of added insulation on the roof there. So it's no big deal here, but if you're, like I said, structural integrity and looks matter, make sure you have something supporting under this piece of wood so it doesn't go like that and peel off. One more quick tip, when you're cutting any kind of wood, especially processed wood that has, even though this is like the California Phase 2, very, very small amount of formaldehyde, just wear a dust mask. Don't breathe that crap in. That was stupid of me not to wear one. I just kind of spaced it. But yeah, definitely wear a dust mask when you're cutting wood. You don't want to breathe all that crap in, get it in your lungs. So now the process is going to be a pain in the ass. This is really just a pain, and there's no way around it. Would be a lot easier with 2 people for sure, but I don't have that option right now. Luckily, this Luan is extremely light. So I'm just going to set it up, kind of wedge it in there. Oh, it looks like I might have some help in a second, actually. Parents just showed up. Ugh. Right now, I'm just kind of test fitting this and seeing how it fits. Oh, that actually looks really good. So now I've got this thing lined up exactly how I want it. See how this thing, I need to pull it back just a little tiny bit more, but it fits that slot pretty damn good. It's almost perfect. My cut wasn't exactly straight, but it's pretty good. So I pushed it up against this side as much as I could so that it was made it up next to this. And I wedged the thing up with this piece of Luan that I just cut off of it, which worked out beautifully. The step that I've taken to make sure that this thing gets lined up perfectly is I used a Sharpie and marked inside of the, whatever you call this thing. And I looked at it from underneath and noted exactly where the line is, and it's exactly on the outside of this. So I'll measure from that point to the left side of the fan hole. Okay, so based off the measurement I got from here to the fan, and from that point I marked here to the fan, I placed this thing exactly here. Now look at how far out the screw holes are from the inside of this thing. So it's okay to cut this thing even like, what, a ½ inch bigger than it actually is, which would allow it some wiggle room in there, just in case once I totally get it in place and drilled in, it's a little off to a side or a little forward or back. So I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of that and cut this about a ½ inch too big. So yeah, I'm just gonna trace around the outside of this thing, and the next step is to drill a hole and get the jigsaw in there and cut her out. All right, so as I was tracing this, I realized that the plastic bowed in a little bit. So I pulled out my straight edge and decided to go back over it. And I happened to measure the innermost point to the screw hole, and it's exactly 1 inch, which means that I have about a ½ inch of play. I can cut this about a ½ inch, because if I cut it a ½ inch and then this moves a ½ inch, it'll be right here and it might not have enough wood for the screw to grab onto. So I just made it a ½ inch too big, and yeah, I'm gonna cut this out now. All right, so now let's stick this thing back up and see how it fits. Beautiful. All right, this is lined up exactly how I want it. It's beautiful, it's very symmetrical, it fits perfect. I almost want to leave it like this and not put a tapestry up, because I mean, look at this wood, it's just beautiful. But I think I'm still gonna. So, obviously this part's still bare metal. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do there later. But this little strip over here, I'm definitely gonna cut another strip to go down this thing to fill this in, because I don't like this at all. But yeah, this cutout is just perfect. It's absolutely beautiful. This part mates up to the back well. This is great. So what I need to do now, whip this camera around, is these leads for the Fantastic fan. I need to extend them and figure out where I want to run them. I think I'm gonna run them on this side, because I'm pretty confident that I want my little power station to be right down here where I can access it very easily all the time. So I've got this thing propped up exactly how I want it, and I'm gonna start drilling it in a second. But I just found this piece of trim which goes along the floor. This line is actually exactly the perfect line for in here. So using this as a template would have been a lot easier. So I know that every van's different, but on your van, if you're doing this, see if you have a piece of trim on the ground that matches the line up here if it's not perfectly flat, and it might work for you as well. So last time I did this, it was a total pain in the ass, because I had to hold the board up with my back and try to drill next to me. It was a super contorted, crazy thing, but this is just awesome. I'm so happy with this. I'm actually going to use the same screws that I used last time. I looked for some self-tappers, but I couldn't find them with a flat head like this. So I'm just going to use these. They're pretty pointy, and this drill's pretty powerful. So I think with enough weight on it, they'll just push right through. And the little metal rafters that they're going into are really light too. And these are short enough so that they can go through the wood and go through the metal, but not go all the way through the top. What else do I need to tell you? Okay, check this out. So I marked where the rafters are with this on both sides. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get something flat, and I'm gonna look at it from straight down, like straight up like this, and measure along and use a Sharpie and create little marks where I'm gonna drill into and put them, I don't know, I'm gonna when I start drilling, I'm gonna start in the center, but I'm gonna put them probably every like 4 or 6 inches or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. All right, so that's most of the way in. Look at that. It's beautiful, isn't it? So my drill died, so I gotta let that charge up for a little while and get the remaining screws in. But basically, I just kind of, as you can see on that one, I kind of just crisscrossed and yeah, just crisscrossed around on the double. So it's drilled in as much as I want. It's pretty sturdy. I left this side. This one would not go in all the way, but this side is a little loose, so that when I get the proper wire, I can solder it or use some connectors to make this go all the way down to there. and then put a screw in it. But the rest of it is in there real good. It's not going anywhere. So now all I need to do is cut the strip for right here, and it's gonna go from like right here over and touch this. And it's just gonna go all the way down. So I'm just gonna do that real quick. I've already showed you the process on how I do stuff like that and how I drill it in. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. If you got anything out of this video, give me a thumbs up and drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. And make sure you subscribe and check out my the rest of the videos in this playlist, as well as my first van build playlist. I've got lots of videos now, so check them out, guys. Love yourself!